live recording the event. If you're not happy with this, then please turn your cameras off. Or take this opportunity also to, like probably network and, show yourself. Some of the events will be shared with some of the recordings will be shared with the presenters and also used for promotional purpose. It's not being live streamed today, and the full recording will be posted on and circulated online on our YouTube, Pitchflix, and on our partner channels. Oops, thank you so much.
Gonna show your face, your lovely face, Meiraj. Continue, please.
Thank you, Jamal. So welcome to the Food and Beverage Pitch Lounge. I'm Meiraj from Pitch Lounge, co-producer of this event series and one of your co-hosts today. So you're going to see a lot of me. Thank you so much for joining today. And also for those who keep returning for all our events. I'm so happy to, see you guys again. I'm proud to open this event and support the continuation of this event series. One that started as the F&B series in June 2020. It's been a long time that we started this and was transformed this year to become sector agnostic. We started branching out to alongside my events team, including the likes of Jamal, Sascha, Zainab, Sivakar, Yash, and many others that have supported over Meiraj as well. Many others that have supported us over the last few years. We have co-produced approximately 80 plus startup investor pitch event series. Pitch events since 2020 across F&B, EdTech, female founders, and other sectors. Today's event is bringing us close to almost the 100th event mark, which is due to come up this year. Excited to see that. Contact us and help us get there as well if you're interested in supporting us as well. And before handing over to my fellow co-host and the event presenter for today, I want to also take this time to tell a little bit about my friend, colleague. And before that, I have some important news to share with you as well. We're supporting Green Shoots startup pitch competition powered by Gulfood Green. This is happening on between 24th to 26th September in Dubai, the Dubai World Trade Center, where we're actually looking for recruiting startups that will pitch at a pitch competition and get a chance to win $50,000. That's a lot of money. I told the organizers that I wish I had a food startup. I would definitely, jump into it, right? It's really interesting. There's a lot of good things happening. It's also got a lot of government bodies involved, investor networks involved. I think if you guys are interested, then, you could just reach out to Jamal, Sascha, or me, or, you could jump onto our website, pitchlaunch.net, and you can navigate through the event section under which there's Gulfood Green over there. And now before handing over, I'm going to, quickly introduce Jamal, my friend, partner, as well as, enabler of communities, as I call him, right? Jamal Maxey moved to Berlin 6 years ago to teach and has organized 100 plus startup, 100 plus in-person, hybrid, and online events in the startup investor sector over this period. Almost a year ago, he studied on a VC program at the London Business School, strengthening his ability to make investor introductions and coach startups on their investor pitches. He lives between Germany, India, and the UK and is open to new hybrid events, partnerships, and marketing, and even remote work as well. So if you're interested in getting to know about, if you have a startup and you want to pitch about it, Jamal's the person that you want to reach out to. And with this, I'm going to hand over hosting to Jamal and moderate for the rest of the event. I'll see you again soon. Have fun.
Thank you, Meiraj, for the kind introduction. So it's really interesting. On the compliment there, I'll have to give him a equally glowing recommendation and introduction. So Meiraj has been working with me for 4 years now, and it's been really fantastic to have his support. So since 2012, he's consulted and worked with large brands like SAP, General Electric, IBM, Diageo, and many others, including Heineken, Qualcomm, Huawei, in addition to startups and venture fund firms as well. And he advises world-class brands on transforming their businesses through creativity, resilience, and adapting innovative strategies. And since 2012, he mainly specializes in branding, design, content, marketing, innovation, and business acceleration services. So welcome to the Food and Beverage Pitch Lounge series. It's committed to supporting food and beverage startups between pre-seed and Series A who are actively in an investment round or preparing for one. we have also hosted a few more mature startups that come back and just love the community and the atmosphere that we offer and the support we offer. We host varied and innovative startups, and we offer them both exposure, support of various kinds, and also valuable connections to investors, buyers, strategic advisors, etc. We're building an inclusive and supportive pitch event community, creating valuable pitching opportunities for startups, as well as engaging, informative, and networking experiences for the general audience as well. Thank you, all of you, for turning up today. We'd like to thank our supporting companies, Meiraj and Hammerhead Global, Marketing Strategiser, also Pagoda Projects, who provide us with a lot of interns that we work with to develop them into event producers and more. So before we dive into the pitches, I want to take a moment to outline the event structure and introduce our investor panel and the startups. So today we're going to have 6 startups in total. You can see from the event schedule. Stick on the screen, Marsh. We've got part 1 of the event. We're going to have 3 of them presenting, each for 5 minutes each, and then they're going to have an extra 15 minutes for Q&A with the investor panel. The same is going to be the case actually in part 2, except for the 6th company, we have a bit more of a teaser, shorter pitch, and no Q&A with that company, just in the interest of time. In part 3, there'll be a chance for us to summarize the event, make some announcements, and then invite everyone to join us for some breakout room networking, where there'll be a dedicated room for each startup, and also a chance for you to mingle, get to know each other in the general space. There are a few guidelines and opportunities for audience participation, and these guidelines are being pasted into the chat shortly, or I will paste them in now. There they are. And then on screen, we've also got a few event support team members, 2 or 3 of them supporting in addition to Meiraj. So if they message you, just checking in, just sending you a nice message, be nice and warm and friendly. Some of them are on our paid team, some of them are our interns. So a lot of them are quite brave to jump on this for the first time. I'm now going to introduce our investor panel. We've got 3 returning panelists and 1 new one that actually was an audience member, just like many of you today, for many of our events, and really very engaged and interactive, and that we thought we'd reach out to him to ensure the diversity of our event, but also we had a clear sense that he would deliver value. So that's David Nothmann, board chair at 3 Bar Biologics, angel investor, and an ambassador and board member at various other large organizations in the US, focused on agriculture. He's an accomplished G-suite executive over 20 years, and helped build companies and build profit of 125 million worth, has led teams of more than 100 people, and worked for companies such as Terramira, Arborgen, and multinationals such as Monsanto and others. He's actually facilitated more than 65 plus international product launches within particularly the ag tech space, but also food and beverage generally. And he's had 20 plus years of different board leadership roles. So we're really thrilled to have David. It'd be great to have someone also with the agriculture specialism. Hopefully also an interest maybe in the fish as well, the sustainable agriculture startup we've got. So David, great to have you here with us. Then we've got Elena, who's a regular on this series. I'm just checking she's in with us. Yes, she is. Hi, Elena.
I'm here.
Hi, great to have you. So I didn't see you before the event. I'm sorry, I wanted to double check you were with.
Yeah, I was waiting. Somehow my browser was stuck in a loop and I couldn't get in.
Absolutely fine.
I sent you a screenshot actually.
Thank you very much. Glad you're in. Glad you made it. Glad you persevered. So she's a founder and CEO of a venture building platform, RSVP Business Angel. She's also a startup expert, judge, and mentor with Mass Challenge in Switzerland and the Founder Institute London, and a food and drink challenger brands advocate, as well as being ex-Diageo, which is useful because we've got at least 1 spirit brand on the event tonight, she knows, and also a wine company. She's worked in-house with Diageo over 4 continents and now specializes in helping food and beverage startups. Over 10 years of experience in financial management, analyzing businesses as part of investment committees of family offices, but also with the angel syndicates. And she successfully oversaw the management of 100 million in investment raises over the course of her career. She's a current startup expert, also a keynote speaker if you want to reach out for opportunities on that, a mentor and a judge. We're really great to have Elena working with us and partnering with us on the ecosystem events that we do, and even on capital raising campaigns we also support early stage founders with. Thanks for coming back, Elena, and keep coming back for the last 3 years. Thank you. And thirdly, we've got Michael Cowan, the managing partner at R Ventures, also a consumer brand head entrepreneur, 3 times founder, and a VC investor. He's a venture studio. Our Ventures is a venture studio and startup advisory firm headquartered in Dublin, Ireland. It specializes in the global food and beverage sector. He has over 25 years of corporate executive experience, including working for Diageo, PepsiCo, Red Bull, and McDonald's. He's founded and exited 3 food and beverage startups. So he's been in the trenches before, like many of the startups on the call today. He's raised capital, and he's also challenged the established brands. We're fortunate to have such an experienced and versatile VC return to our investor panel. And after a few events that he's done with us this year, it's great to have you back again, Michael. So thank you. Thank you for joining us. Nadine Benchaffai, she's a venture building director based in Dubai. She's with Dana Venture Builder. She's a partner and co-founder of Fab Food Co. Built successful businesses in her own right. And she's a food and agri startup advisor and an angel investor. She as well also supports women-led startups and also ones working in desert technologies, including agri-tech, food tech, and renewables. Fascinating. And she's had over 25 years experience ranging from in the FMCG world, including in the corporate background with Nestle, Mondelez, and Yoplait, to hospitality, where she co-founded Tortilla Mexican Grill in the UK and Tocado Mexican Kitchen in the UAE, both partially exited. Wow. And she's an investor and advisor for numerous startups and is currently the co-chair of London Business School's Angel Investment Forum in the Middle East. Absolute pleasure to have you back, Nadine, after hosting you in Dubai in person. It's great to have you on one of our online events. Thank you for jumping on. So that's our amazing investor panel that span North America, the Middle East, continental Europe, and Ireland. Shouldn't say the UK, so Ireland. Then we've got our startups. Let's move on to our startups. I know I've got to rush through these a bit faster. We've got 6 startups. Food Founders Studio, presenter Giacomo Cattaneo, founder and CEO. And they're a venture studio to discover breakthrough academic research and build the next B2B food tech companies. We've got then our second startup, Solaro Capri Gin, and Lorenzo Fanari, the founder and CEO, is presenting. And that's an award-winning London dry gin. And we're great to have you back. We had you 3 months ago, and it's nice to see now how you progressed since then. Our third startup, the Urban Wine Company from the US. We've got Lindsay William, founder and winemaker. The Urban Wine Company are wines made from the finest grapes sourced from vineyards around the world, enabling the company to craft outstanding wines with a true international flavor. Fourth, to hand over to our first presenter, who I'm going to introduce, before handing over. So this is Giacomo Cattaneo from Food Founders Studio. The studio is a Swiss-based 3 million fund, a venture studio, to build B2B food tech companies from European academic IP. Giacomo has leveraged his track record of methodology in scaling food tech ventures and has been someone that's really reshaped the food industry, working at the likes of Evergreen by AB InBev, which is pioneers and scales sustainable proteins and fibers from circular upcycled brewers' grains. He also brings together both an engineering and commercial background, including a PhD in innovation management from ETH Zurich. He's an angel investor and advisor to many startups in food tech, the proud father of young Max and Elena, and holds a high jump record. And it was his personal best is 1.96. Well done. Great pleasure to hand over to Giacomo to present Food Founders Studio. Oh, and they're seeking 3 million. That is in this section of the script. Handing over to you to present Food Founders Studio, Giacomo.
Thank you, Jamal, and thank you, Pitch Lounge team. Allow me to briefly bring up my slides. All right, Jamal, give me the okay. Everything is good.
It's full screen. We can see you. You're spotlighted. Please continue.
Wonderful. All right. What a pleasure to introduce you to Food Founders Studio, where we build technology into ventures. I'm Giacomo. And as Jamal was mentioning, I've built a food tech startup that totally raised 40 million, Evergreen, where we pioneered the upcycling of spent grains at scale in producing plant-based proteins across the world. And now I will build many startups. That's what Food Founder Studios will do. Now, what's the problem? I'm not going to get into the details of a large problem that we're all familiar with, namely that the food ecosystem and the industry is causing more than 30% of the carbon footprint worldwide, but more about who's going to drive the future of food so that sustainable solutions will be the preferred choices. Big Food currently is truly struggling to overcome its internal structural limits. It's decreasing the rate of internal innovation. and is moving from a focus of in disruption, how do we disrupt their business, to the core business, leave everything behind and survive. But if before we used to build the seeds of innovation internally, now we're thinking, how do we buy innovation externally at a later stage once it's validated? And we think that academia is a wonderful pool of breakthrough food technology, but that rarely impacts the market, as it doesn't get transferred out as much, and the spin-off rates are also lower compared to other industries. To give you an example, ETH Zurich, the best university in continental Europe, with a food science department, has less than 1% of the spin-offs across 50 years applied to food. And this is a big missed opportunity. Now, how are we trying today to solve for this market and technology gap? Well, we have incubators and we have accelerators or early stage VCs. But the challenge there is that they rely on already launched startups or on aspiring entrepreneurs that apply to such programs. Nobody in Europe, at least, goes as far back to technology seeking solutions and building those into startups. This is where Food Founders comes in. Food Founders Studio is a Switzerland-based venture studio to build B2B food tech ventures from untapped European academic IP. Our team collectively raised more than 50 million in food tech ventures that we built from scratch. And now we're leveraging this track record, this network, and this method to do it again. Why are we unique? Well, we're the only ones that are proactively bridging this gap between academic IP and real-world impact. We are experienced founders. We've been through the journey ourselves. We have badges of honors, but especially many scars as well. And we also, thanks to the venture studio model, we can be ruthless and a little bit cold-blooded in how we select only the top opportunities to de-risk the whole process. As a venture studio, we are entrepreneurs, we are operators and investors under the same roof from idea to seed. Who are we? Besides me, we have Alex, our Chief Technology Officer. He was the inventor and the head of technology of Mirai Foods, the first thick cut of cultivated meat ever developed worldwide. And he's now coming back to more immediate problems that we want to be solving. And then we have Noemi, the head of ventures, who led the circular economy strategy at Bühler Group. How does the process work? We're working in the industry already now to define opportunity spaces and problem spaces with a time horizon of 5 to 7 years down the line that they cannot resource right now to tap into. But that becomes our guiding light into tech scouting across European universities, looking for solutions and technologies. We then build the funnel that we select through to actually get to just a bunch of ideas that we incubate in the studio. We build the first business case around them. And then if there is a true seed of a potential startup, we do hire a better leadership team, a new CEO, a new CTO to build and lead such a venture. And if we do a good job, we get to a point where we want to fund such a venture as a first investor. We're basically building the largest food tech R&D network across Europe with all of the relationships we are establishing with the top universities. Currently, we're speaking with more than 13 universities, and we're just at the start reviewing the first cases across the future of extrusion or clean paste protein fractionation, or how do we prevent agglomeration of proteins in plant-based production lines. And we're also working with the industry. They are engaged throughout the process. And I'm also proud to announce our in partnership with the Good Food Institute, our innovation challenge being shared across European institutes in September 2024. What are we here to ask? We want you to participate with Food Founders Studio on the highest value creation opportunity in food tech at the minimal risk. We're looking for 3 million to build the first 3 ventures, cover the lean team, fixed cost of the studio, and we foresee a 5x return from the first cohort. Why does it truly matter to invest in a venture studio? The highest value creation happens from idea to seed. That's where the biggest jump is. Our team and our method can drastically reduce the risk of what would be a very high risk early stage technology. And because we're co-founder in the venture, we actually can get 50% cheaper equity versus any seed comparable investment as we're in at incorporation. And the fact that we can accelerate the process and be smarter in our capital allocation also reduces the funding needs of our startups. This is Food Founder Studio. I'm Giacomo, and I hope you can connect with me soon. Thanks.
Wonderful. Thank you for your pitch. Let's go first to David, please, our new panelist.
Yeah, thank you for that. I've seen this type of setup in the US, but I'm not as familiar with the European Union universities, and you may be tapping into something that hasn't been tapped into before. So my questions are a little bit around that. One of the first questions I have is the size of investment that you're looking at if you do decide to co-fund initially. What's the amount that you're looking to fund, the dollar amount?
Yeah. So on the EU university landscape is unfortunately drastically different from the US. Maybe fortunate for us because that's our opportunity, but there is a completely different mindset. US breakthrough researchers, they will think, let me patent this. European academics will think, let me write another research grant to continue my research. And that's a big missed opportunity, but that is also how the model to actually get to that technology cannot be done by an automated patent search, because in Europe you will not find much. It requires setting up interpersonal relationships with all of these research teams across and the tech transfer offices of the universities as well. And yeah.
Go ahead. No, go ahead, please.
No, please.
Well, you mentioned the tech transfer offices, and that's the other challenge in the US, I know, is their expectations, right?
Yeah.
And so my question for the European universities, it does seem like a very untapped market, but do they have the infrastructure to efficiently work with you to what extent do they have that structure in place?
Yeah.
My guess is those that do will be have preferential treatment with you all, right? And you'll build the other ones. But and then I do want to come back to the initial investment that you're looking at. Yeah.
No, absolutely. So the tech transfer offices, they need to be our friends. Like nothing is going to happen unless we find a way to collaborate rather than stepping on their feet. I think that the fact that we are so specialized in food has, I don't want to say everybody because it may sound a little bit presumptuous, but really, they all welcomed us because they struggle to transfer food-related technology to market. They may have better playbooks for other disciplines, be it is AI or biotech or defense, but for food, be this the variety of business model, the value of IP, the challenges in validating early stage technology, they don't seem to be as equipped to do a great job themselves, and that's how we help them. So they've been so far greatly supporting us in connecting us further to the research group. And when it comes to the expectations, so the terms and conditions under which a licensing agreement would happen, I can say that for the majority of discussions we had, the ranges they provided to us, they fit in our budget. So that should work out fine.
So what amount are you looking to invest?
So for each startup is going to be roughly 1 million. So that's $500,000 of capital. That is 250K allocated for the whole venture building process. This covers the basic salaries of the new CEO and CTO, the IP fees, the market activation, the first pilot test outside of university. And then we have a first investment of 250K. If we do achieve consensus across the investment committee of the studio, that's going to be a safe. And then there is an in-kind commitment, if you will, of the whole studio, basically our 3 co-founders being fully dedicated to that startup, which basically ranges up to the 1 million. And this is to start, of course. We are keeping to one venture at a time to do a fantastic job at that. But then, of course, we're going to increase the size of the cohort. Our de-risking happens before in the build-up of the tech funnel and the selection method.
Thank you, David. Thank you for your answers, Giacomo. Now on to Elena, please, for your questions.
Yes, thank you so much for your pitch tonight. It looks good, although overall, I think you could break it down and restructure it a little bit in terms of the investment you are looking for. I think you could adapt to LPs instead of so you should tell us more what is your strategy on the long run. And in terms of unique selling proposition, there are also some missing or blind spots. You need to communicate more. And also all this story about the academic IP, actually, the venture studio model. I recently studied a lot of venture studio models, but your model needs a little bit more clarity on this approach with the academic IP, because the main question here is who is going to own the IP. Yeah, so just if you can just give me an answer, who is going to own this IP?
Yeah, no, thanks, Elena. I appreciate the questions. Many of these questions can be answered at length in a second opportunity. I think that 5 minutes that Jamal imposed on us was a little bit tight to get into the details and the nitty-gritty. But for many of these questions, I would have much more details about our method, our financials, and our model, as well as the fundraising strategy and what is the future of the Food Founder Studio. On the IP specifically, on the IP specifically, the IP will travel with the startup. So depending on the agreements done with the university, and let me tell you, every university will have a different starting point. The conditions to license that IP are anyhow aligned for the startup to eventually be the main recipient of the IP or having a path to purchase the IP. We as the studio will channel that through, but we are not going to be owning the IP. The startups that we create will own the IP.
So practically your venture studio is a micro venture capital platform.
I think it's the better analogy would be that of a private equity with a heavy operational team that instead of buying companies, build companies. So you come in with this great expertise in how do you turn around a whole company, and you place your capabilities and your operators on the project. But instead of doing this with mature company, we build the companies. So versus what venture fund would be.
Yeah, how do you build convictions with your investors that they invest in the right thing? I don't see a clear USP, because just saying this is the highest value creation idea to see it, yeah, we all know it, but then the secret is in the implementation and in execution, because idea, it's not really something that we value, and we know this in the venture capital world. This is the first thing we learn. Yeah. So I would really convey a little bit better your messaging and your call to action, because we would like to have something more practical to work with, to put in logic, to really get the feeling, yes, this is something appealing, interesting, I want to learn more. Yeah. It's little time. So thank you so much for pitching with us.
Thanks, Elena, to you. I completely agree with you that the secret sauce is in the execution of it all. And that is why we, having gone through that journey ourselves and having done it ourselves, is the secret sauce of the studio, is the team that has gone through it already, that is going to do it again. That's the secret sauce. Yeah, but point taken, it could be communicated better, but happy to do it in a next chat with a little bit more time to expand on that.
Thank you.
You're on mute, Jamal. I guess he's trying to say over.
Yeah, Michael, we'd like to ask you a question. Yeah, thank you very much.
Yeah, thanks, Jamal. Thanks, Giacomo. just for transparency, Giacomo and I are both in VC Lab cohort 15 at the moment simultaneously. So I know personally what he's going through from a venture studio point of view. I do want to ask, I think it's a really good point that Elena makes about who owns the academic IP with the model that you're going over after with research. I think that's a really critical point. But I know execution is, you said it's the secret sauce, but I just want to back the train up a little bit in terms of your entry point into the space. So can you just maybe explain to the audience, what makes you a different player versus, say, other accelerators in the food tech space, pre-seed, so what's you and your team's background that you believe that you will be differentiated in terms of, food tech?
No, thanks, Michael. And yes, it's great to be reunited in a different setting here. So what an incubator and accelerator would rely on, even if they approach universities, is for a researcher or a professor to feel the entrepreneurial drive in wanting to apply to such a program and go through themselves oftentimes. Mm-hmm. The difference here is that we tap into the research labs and groups that do not have that entrepreneurial drive. The majority of the academics in the world, they do not want to become entrepreneurs. They actually love being researchers and professors, but they've developed something truly breakthrough. So what we do also in collaboration with the tech transfer offices, and this is one of the things that is mostly welcomed, is that we as proxies of the industry, we nudge or we catalyze the opportunity from that research to be applied to the food industry's problem. So we become proactive entrepreneurs in connecting with these researchers and creating startups that would otherwise not exist. So that technology, especially in Europe, would very likely end up to sleep in between the pages of academic papers. So this is the key differentiation versus an incubator or an accelerator when it comes to academic IP.
Okay, and just to follow, thank you for that. And just so the follow on there for me would be, given that you said there's existing startups in the food and beverage, in the food tech space, how much of them have actually started from an academic point of view or an academic or research base? So what makes you different? You're assuming that most of them don't have the same model as you, but how do you know that some of them have not come through that path?
So I think that the main differentiation in how we're going to build the startups, even starting from the same starting point, let's assume that the majority of food tech startups have started with some of scientific background in academia. Here, I'm a little bit opinionated about how startups have been built under the guise of food tech and how much I've seen an over-reliance on technology or validating technology at scale and not enough validating the market demand at scale. So I've lived through my own experience how supply and scaling up was not a problem. We had a major corporation behind us. We went to 10,000 tons. That was not the problem. But unless that company would have kept the lights on for us, we would be dead in the water because we didn't build up the demand as much as we built capacity. And I see too much of this, a little bit of a trap in the world of food tech today, of focusing too much on the technology push and not enough on validating the market desirability. So we bring this understanding from the very beginning, from day zero. These are going to be the fundamentals on how we validate if that technology actually has legs to become a startup. So our building blocks and the robustness of the startups coming out of the gate may be different from many of the current startups that we see in the space.
So will you commission research or will you go out and scour the research landscape to find stuff that you can tap into?
Long term, we would like to commission research. We're going to start by, the exit point of the program is it's close to seed or at least a mature pre-seed. So currently we are reverse engineering, 12 months. Where do we need to start to apply our capabilities and network to get to that point? So we cannot start at too early of a TRL or technology readiness level because it wouldn't carry us where we want to be in 12 months. So we are actually aiming to a TRL of 4 or something comparable with a physical representation of the value proposition of that technology that we can build a startup around.
Okay. I have another question, but I'm sure Nadine's probably going to pick it up anyway around what the investment's actually for in terms of venture studio or LP deployment. So anyway, I'll leave it there.
Cheeky,
Thanks,
cheeky.
Simon.
Other Nadine, other Nadine.
Yeah, no,
Okay.
I just had one. I mean, I had just one, a quick one. So in terms of market validation, so you're ultimately, so are there specific areas that you've, that you see are the big trends that you're focusing on, and then you're going to go and try and find the IP that
Yeah.
could potentially, so have you narrowed it down for the three? So now it's just a case of finding which tech works for those specific areas, and obviously the size of those market opportunities.
The thinking process there is that we're truly going to try to be diligent in focusing on the problem, which oftentimes it's easy to say and actually difficult to stay true to and execute on. This means that the problems are actually quite well known. It's about taste, it's about texture, it's about cost effectiveness, it's about nutritional value. We're not going to be championing one solution only. We're going to be only precision fermentation, and we believe that cultivated meat is the future. No, we're actually going to go and look for solutions across the value chain that will translate into such end consumer benefits. And this can go from production technology to new ingredients, not only alternative proteins, but everything around them. It can be biomaterials, it can be formulation techniques. So everything that is going to be
But
a
around
platform.
the protein sector.
Sorry?
But it's generally around the alternative protein.
Around the removing animal from the center of plate. This is going to be it. Yes, it's alternative protein at large. I'm careful to say alternative proteins because then people think we're just going to come up with a new protein, and that's not about it. It's everything around it.
Okay. And then no, I mean, just I guess on what Michael was mentioning, it was more, I think I saw in the preview deck, I think 20% was supposed to be for funding the operational parts of the actual venture studio, and then 80% then being invested into the companies, into the three entities.
What you're referring to is our organizational structure. So there will be a portfolio holding company, of which 80% is owned by our investors and 20% is owned by the studio operating company.
Okay.
The studio operating company is budgeted as a fixed cost by the holdco, and the holdco itself will own the equity in the startups. So the capital gains from the exit of the startups will flow back into the portfolio holdco and then be distributed.
Okay. So of the 3 million, how much goes into the companies and how much is just the operating for 3 years?
It depends what you mean by operating, because for us, operating means being the co-founders of these startups. We are going to be the ones with the hands in the dough. We're going to be the ones with the hands dirty. So that part is, we can call it the fixed cost of the studio, which is going to be 500,000, and another 500,000 per startup is also what is going to be allocated for it. So it's a total of 1 million per startup. This is the difference between, if you think, if we were just investors looking into a deal flow, it would be something. But we're also the entrepreneurs and the startup operator.
No, that's fine. I get it. But it's just because also for a 5x return, actually, it's not as high as you think it is. I mean, we're typically looking at slightly later and still at 10x. So de-risked and 10x. So you're at a much higher risk. You need to probably just bear in mind that 5x will be, I don't think it's going to be appealing enough for the risk, unless that's just my thinking there. It's
the start. Let's put it this way. That's the bare minimum. It's also a matter of the beauty of a studio is that it's a virtual cycle. So every startup you build should benefit from the ones you've built before, and that's why a niche focus matters. So that is the bare minimum that we expect. Now, this is the first vehicle. We're going to raise a future one as we've gotten better, and we're going to be able to build more ventures simultaneously. with the same level of team or the same lean operational structure, that is just going to increase. But this is our start.
Thanks, Giacomo. Thank you for the panel. That was a lovely exchange, set of exchanges. And if you've got more questions for Giacomo, stay on to the end or continue that conversation in the chat. There wasn't any burning questions from the audience at the moment, but there might be later. Or reach out to Giacomo directly in the chat. You're able to do that, or stick around to the end, the breakout rooms, or book some separate meetings with him. Thank you so much for your presentation. Thank you.
Thanks for the panel. Thanks to the panel for your great questions. Really appreciate it.
Fantastic. Thanks, everyone. Now moving on to our second startup for today. Bear with me. We have Solaro Capri Gin. We have Lorenzo Bernardi, founder and CEO, presenting, and he's seeking 750,000 in seed funding. Now, Lorenzo has produced Solaro Capri Gin. It's Italy's most refined luxury artisanal gin on the market. And Solaro captivates with its handcrafted ceramic bottle an exceptional spirit that embodies the essence of Capri. Also an award-winning designer in his own right, photographer and entrepreneur. Lorenzo brings a unique blend of innovation and creativity to Solaro. His background spans from leading aerospace innovation at Eutelsat to co-founding an adventure travel startup, all underpinned by a family legacy in diplomacy and spirits. What a mix. It's a great pleasure to hand over to Lorenzo to present Solaro Capri Gin.
Well, hello, everyone. Thanks for joining, and thanks for having me back. So in the meantime, we've gone through a few changes, and all positive, I think. So without further ado, I'm going to share my screen so also my hair doesn't look completely crazy, but here we go. Voila. Let's see. Hopefully this works.
And if anyone doesn't know, I think the Zoom changed recently, so you must click top of your window. If you're on a Windows computer, you'll see meeting at the left, and then Lorenzo's Funari's screen on the right. There's two little tabs at the top there. That's what I see from my end. Zoom changed a few weeks ago. So to see his screen I can see the slide on screen, a beautiful bottle. If you can't right now, then you need to click on the right tab at the top of the screen, okay? Any problems, please message Meiraj, and he can navigate you on whichever platform you're on. Handing over to you, Lorenzo.
All right, thank you very much. So welcome, everyone. The next 5 minutes will be all about a gin like you've never seen or experienced before. So close your eyes and imagine luxury. Now open your eyes to Solaro Gin, where luxury isn't just a label, but actually an experience. It's all about craftsmanship, and our ceramic bottles are made by generations of Italian artisans who spend a week crafting each bottle. Our botanicals are hand-picked from Monte Solaro, Capri's highest peak, and our namesake. You know, you can just think of it as nature's penthouse suite, basically. Our award-winning gin, meticulously distilled just a stone's throw away in a process so steeped in tradition that it practically wears a toga. This cultivated luxury, not manufactured, not faked, not photoshopped. And I like to refer to Michelangelo, who said that I saw the angel in the marble and carved until I set him free. Well, Solaro is similar in the sense that Solaro is my masterpiece, and every element is already there and sourced from our land and people. Solaro is more than a gin, though. It's Capri's soul. It's a testament to Italian craftsmanship and the new gold standard of authentic, sustainable luxury spirits. This is Solaro, honoring La Dolce Vita with every detail and transporting you to our sun-drenched island with every sip. A little bit by myself, so, buongiorno. My name is Lorenzo Fornari, and I'm the founder of Solaro Capri Gin. And no, I did not just step off a yacht from the Marina Grande. I'm more of a sailboat kind of guy, if you know what I mean. My accent is a souvenir from a family of Italian diplomats who've lived everywhere and except for Italy, basically. It's a long story, but it's best told over a G&T or a Negroni if you're feeling a little bit more adventurous. Now, you might be thinking, another luxury gin? What's so special about this one? Well, let me take you on a little journey. One summer afternoon in Capri, while making limoncello for my family's garden, it hit me, why not create a gin that captures the essence of the magical island? But Solaro isn't just about making gin. It's about preserving a way of life. You see, Italy is facing a crisis, and no, it's not a shortage of pasta or Ferraris, but something far more serious, the extinction of our artisanal heritage, and therefore our very essence and culture. And this is where Solaro comes in. So we've identified the types of people who would most be attracted to a product and a brand like ours: this discerning collector and trendsetter, the affluent, environmentally aware traveler, the authentic lifestyle and Epicurean connoisseur. Of course, we couldn't do this without a team. And as the saying goes, like attracts like. And we've attracted and discussed with some of the most exceptional people in the spirits and luxury industries. A call out to some of you in the audience here we've already talked to in the past. We also have an incredible advisory board, amongst which you can see the names here, the founder of World Gin Day, and Cristina Colle, who is working in luxury and with Tequila Azul, et cetera, et cetera. Achievements. Again, we're not just a handcrafting gin, we're handcrafting opportunities. In just over 2 years, we've gone from a dream to reality. We've distributed over 4,000 bottles. We've charmed our way into publications like a little thing called the New York Times. We've received many international awards. And we've even featured in dozens of publications. It's amore. So, we've even become the toast of Monaco's Formula One circuit for the last couple of seasons, not to mention being listed at Hedonism here in London at Swan's Bar. And of course, every high-end location in Capri, or Capri is more appropriate, and have had numerous sponsorships and collabs with high-end artists, fashion houses, and more. This is not bad for a gin that just started as a passion project. And while there are other ultra-premium gins, we really stand out in terms of packaging and flavor profile. Obviously, we're up in the top right with our pricing as well. But gin has peaked, everyone says. True, but the appetite for authentic ultra-premium spirits is only growing. Our gin market in particular is growing faster than any other sector, with ultra-premium gin growing globally at a rate of 17.5%, and places like the US, it is expanding at a CAGR of 33%. It is set to reach $3.95 billion pounds globally by 2027, and we plan to capture a generous pour of that. By 2027, we conservatively have estimated that we will not only reach 2.7 million in revenue, but become profitable as well in only a couple of years. We have achieved some notable successes, and all this with unoptimized COGS and fully bootstrapped with impressive year-on-year growth, which continues to this year as well. We're seeking 750,000 pounds in seed funding to fuel our growth, and also to be able to meet demand and take advantage, opportunities that we're not able to meet because we are too small and cannot keep up with demand. Think of this as investing a little piece of Italian paradise with the added bonus of some very attractive tax benefits for UK investors via the SEIS scheme. And finally, with Solaro, we're not just selling a spirit, we're bottling La Dolce Vita. We're preserving Italian craftsmanship and promoting sustainability, and yes, making sure that you have the perfect G&T to sip while watching the sunset over the Mediterranean. We have big plans for the future as well. Special editions, RTD, ready to drink for, if you don't know, experiential and accessory collaborations. And every glass is a ticket to Capri. There's no passport required. And just in closing, I would like to ask you to join us on this adventure to redefine luxury and support local artisans, one sip at a time. Because saving the planet should be as enjoyable as sipping a perfect Negroni. Grazie mille, and as we say, salute.
Thank you, Lorenzo. Wonderful. Can I hand over to Elena first to kick us off this time?
Yes.
Elena, can you stop sharing your slides for now? Unless you want the slide, Elena. Sometimes you do, don't you? Oh, Meiraj is taking. Yeah.
Should I stop sharing or?
It is nicer to see people's full faces. Yeah.
Nice to see you again, Lorenzo. Thank you so much for pitching with us tonight. Lovely progress. I can see that.
Thank you.
I can say you really manage to sell the experience, which is one of the most important triggers in selling spirits in your industry, bottling the Dolce Vita, and every glass is a ticket to Capri. So I feel already I'm in Capri. But then let's come back to the numbers.
Yes.
What I would advise you is to, when you say, I heard, it's like kind of repeating in my ear, we are, we did, we are, we did. But then we are and our customers are as well. We did and our customers are doing as well. So you should balance a little bit the communication, and we as an audience, we need to understand how your ticket to heaven is received. Is it really exactly what you are saying? Because we really need to build conviction with investors.
Yeah.
That's my point. From this angle, I'm observing your pitch. So they will like it until they would not like it anymore, because they don't feel confident in how your consumer is receiving your product. Is it the right pricing? How you position yourself with all the other options in the market? It's very difficult to fight for a place even in a Formula One, as you said. There are so many other brands competing to get there. So for Formula One, for example, just popped up into my mind, you can say we were there and we were among but then our like not so important competitor, they didn't get in. So we were leading. So you should always balance the communication, we and them. So we will have a better understanding, so we can make an assumption and an informed decision. Yeah, we trust what you have done, you implemented correctly, you are top of the mind of your consumer, and we are in as investors, because you have done so much. You have been covering a lot of the processes like marketing strategy, price, positioning, go to market, and all this. I know. But then for the audience, for the first time investor listening to your pitch, they need a little bit more ground in your story.
Thank you very much for that feedback. I guess one of the issues is we don't have enough time, and we have to select a little bit of what we can talk about and not. I glanced over the personas. I kind of made that one slide that was a little bit busy with, again, the Formula One and Capri, and we've done many events in Italy, in France, here in London. I'm based here in London. And again, it's not just one-time things, it's repeats. And I guess I should convey that more. We are, again, it's the second year we've been invited to be a VIP event in Monaco, and actually was extended to a yacht as well on the bay, et cetera, et cetera. I mean, a little bit of FOMO, but time is the enemy here.
All right, thank you, and good luck.
Grazie.
Now over to Michael, please.
Hi, Michael.
Hi again, Lorenzo. I think I was also on my first panel with you last time, and again, yeah, good. Seems to be good momentum. Particularly the Monaco thing's interesting, and as a marketing guy, I would say I get attracted to all the, the visceral stuff. It's very easy to, I think, in the gin world, but at 750 ask, we've really got to get down to what really would excite investors. So I think the Solaro gin, the background, the bottle story, and the product itself, all fantastic. But I think now is the time to move on to the fundamentals of the investment. Let's start with, and I've got 3 questions around that, and then I'll move on. So the first question is the 4,000 bottles. I think last time you mentioned that was your 2021 number.
Yes.
Yeah. So what is it? And then you said you're aiming for a 2.7 million revenue is it 2025?
Well, by year 3 post investment.
post-investment. So let's say investment is January 2025, that would be January 2028.
Right now, we're I think we're on a good path to get investment this year, but let's just say 28. But we put it in our financials 27. But
yeah, so for me, that's a little bit of an alarm bell, because even at 4,000 bottles, even if it was this year, it was 3 years ago, that's 666 cases. So and at 2.7 million revenue in 3 years from now, if the investment came in tomorrow, that's 3,750 cases. The benchmark for proof of from product market fit in the alcohol beverage market is 25,000 9-liter cases.
Understood.
So that means you are way off the mark 3 years from now from even proving product market fit So I think now you've got to think beyond. So the marketing story is great for friends and family and angel investors, right? And so I think your investment strategy now is going to decide whether you're going to go after a second round of angel investment. Then your marketing story might attract them, or you've got to go for a small VC fund that's looking for a product like this to build, but then your fundamentals need to be stronger.
Okay.
So I think you said last time it was 120 sterling a bottle. Right?
Correct.
Is that a bottle to a consumer or to a bar or to
that's retail? Yes.
That's RRP. So what's the case cost to a distributor?
It's right now it's just being multiplied by 6. There's no discounts or anything.
No, I mean, what's their margin? So are they getting 70 margin on a 120 bottle?
Well, okay. So for the UK, for example, we don't have a distributor. I'm doing it door to door. So they do have a significant margin. I can't go into the details of exactly how much.
Yeah, you don't need to say it here with such a big group, but I think that's where I'm suggesting the feedback I can give you is get really tight on your product economics and on your supply chain, so your route to market economics. And then investors can see, actually, this is not just a beautiful gin bottle with an amazing story. It's actually quite scalable and quite investable and really hot margins, better than any margins in the industry.
So right now we're at a gross margin of about 45%, ourselves, but we, again, and this is a completely unoptimized COGS. Like we're paying through the roof on everything because we're so small. So even a small investment will allow us to significantly have better margins just on the COGS. There is also something that, and I totally agree with, for example, now this was something I didn't have time to talk about, but this is an aluminum refill. And so it's not just the ceramic, but the strategy, which, for example, at Swan's Bar here in London, for example, and other bars that I'm talking to, they basically only have to buy a couple of ceramic bottles, a small investment, if you will. And then they go along with refill bottles. And so they pay a premium price for the gin, but they can sell it at a luxury price. So for them, it becomes extremely interesting on a per drink basis of very big margins. And for us doing volume. So I totally agree that the volume doesn't make sense if it's just ceramic, but we just started introducing these and we've already gone a second pallet and it's taking off from this strategy point of view.
Yeah, great. And then I don't want to hog the airspace, but just around, I guess the botanicals and the liquid quality has to be there at 120 sterling a bottle. Take that as a given. But then I would get back to, what's your distribution strategy to get you at scale, right? To get you at scale enough for what the last question is, what's your exit strategy?
Exit strategy, we have a couple of scenarios, but again, it's something that I would be happy to discuss about on at a further time. It's something that's still, I think, too early to have a definitive answer on. But we've obviously looked at the big guys buying us out or keeping this in the family and buying back, as well as other options. Everything's on the table right now.
Great. I'll pass it over because I'm sure there's many.
Thank you, Michael.
Thank you,
Nadine, time for you.
I think one quickly, just yet to reiterate that I think the sales, I was going to say, can you go back to the slide of the numbers, because because the sales I think are not going to be ambitious enough. I think you're going to have to really go for it, and then they'd want to dig down into how are you going to deliver that. So into every single part of the strategy, from the distributors to how are you going to the resales, etc. So I think that's one side. What are you looking? Is there? I don't think you put a valuation there, right, for the 750K.
We're looking at a 6.7 pre-money valuation and that will, sorry, I'm just trying to do the screen share as well at the same time.
No, it's okay.
Is this?
Yeah.
So that's the turnover. This is the, I think what you're referring to.
Yeah. I mean, so one is, yes, so the 2.7 is definitely on the low side. I think the like drastically on the low side. And then I think and then being wary to how you're going to reach it and how many markets and how you don't end up spreading yourself thin, especially when it comes to then marketing and promoting it and picking your markets. Is something that we had with a couple of other drinks brands we looked before, where they're trying to spread themselves everywhere, wherever they get an inquiry, and then the reality is they just don't have the team to support it.
Yep.
So I think one, just be wary of that. Something maybe to help you with this raise, because I think it is much more of a friends and family and people who really love and are into the product and just want to be part of that journey, is if your margins are really good, is to kind of maybe do an incentive where they get the product as part of their investment. They get an amount of the product.
Absolutely, yes.
And so they feel like they've offset part of their investment already. So if the numbers make sense, it might be a quicker way, and then they just become ambassadors for you.
I forgot to add the slide where all investors are invited to Capri for a big party, you know.
Yeah, well, yeah. I mean, so that just might be a quicker way for you to get the 750K in terms of people who are. But I think, you'll have a challenge, I think, on the next, even at that valuation, it's probably on the steep side. And I think you'll have to prove a hell of a lot come next funding round. So when is the next? So this is the funding you think you need till 2027?
No, with this funding round, we've calculated that we would have at least a 3-year runway that would allow us to get to, again, as you rightly said, we have to really concentrate on just a few markets. So right now it's Italy, Germany is doing very well. The UK, we just started very well. And as you can hear from my accent, I do have a lot of connections back in the States, and there is a big market. But again, the States is a behemoth that you need much more than just a seed round to do. So again, we have a business plan. We only had 5 minutes, which actually became almost 7. There's a lot of points. I think we've thought about a lot of these things. So thank you for actually confirming the fact that we do need to impress more, maybe on certain things rather than the storytelling. But again, it's a fine line of how much information we can get through in one thing. So we do have a business plan. We're not screen sharing anymore, but and the advisories. There are people who have ex-Diageo, actually. There's people who have helped other brands succeed and get to where they need to be. So we do have an advisory and a team that can get us there with even just a small seed like this. Let's put it that way. So we're in good hands.
Great.
Thanks, Nadine. And the last question, please, from David.
Sure.
Question, please, David.
So thank you. I also got to see the presentation previously, so it's interesting to see how you've modified it, and I realize you're tight on time. I won't go and beat a dead horse. I also was wanting for more financial information, so I'm going to pivot a little bit and talk about your customers. I was thrilled to see you had some customer personas, and I'll pick up a little bit where Elena was talking about, what are your customers saying? Because although not familiar with this market, I'd like to understand who else is playing in the high-end gin market. How are you differentiating there? And then it seems to be a place where there's a high customer acquisition cost. So what do you look at your customer lifetime value, right? How do you get them and keep them? And what are some of those numbers associated with the marketing side?
So thanks. That's some good questions. So I have here in front of me the competition, the landscape. I can share that, but otherwise I can just tell you in the sense that I've done my homework. There are a lot of bigger brands who will create a limited edition. that'll be very expensive, and there are gins out there that are thousands of pounds, for example. But what we're looking at is, for example, the 71s of this world, which I don't know if many people know of. It's a brand by a photographer with Madonna and whatnot, and that's a lot of marketing. But having said that, to come to what you're saying, our go-to-market strategy right now, or brand building strategy, is what I'm doing, for example, personally here in London, which is looking for 2 or 3 really high-end bars, 2 or 3 really high-end restaurants. And we're at Hedonism, which I don't know if you know of, is probably the greatest spirit store in the world. So again, it's this step-by-step brand building with again, everything out of pocket. We're totally bootstrapping now, and we just need the seed round to get to the next step. And in our team is a person who I don't think you noticed, but is someone who is ex-Diageo, who does brand building for luxury and ultra premium spirits, specifically with this in mind, and has a very good track record, who's on the team and just ready to go as soon as we get a little bit more seed investment. So I would kind of leave it to what we've done now, plus knowing that we have a team member and advisory board that would be able to fulfill and let's say complete all these pieces that need to be addressed for successful marketing.
Thanks everyone. It's a great exchange. Thank you, Lorenzo, for your pitch, and the panel for your input and questions. And I want to hand over, and I want to introduce, our third startup tonight. So thank you, Lorenzo. Okay, so we got startup number 3. Now we've got the Urban Wine Company from the US, and they're seeking $500,000 in community funding, a mix of maybe equity, but also revenue share arrangement, so they can negotiate with them directly. And their presenter is Lindsay William. She's founder and a winemaker. She isn't your typical wine industry person. She's actually traded a successful legal career in the corporate sector, including at Fortune 500 companies, for her love of wine and founding the Urban Wine Co., the South's innovative urban winery. Before crafting exceptional wines, Lindsay honed her skills leading teams, overseeing operations and closing deals in the corporate world. The sharp legal mind and business acumen are the driving force behind her thriving winery. It's a great pleasure to hand over to Lindsay to present the Urban Wine Co.
Thank you, Jamal, and thank you, Pitch Lounge, for having me. I'm going to share my screen here.
Yeah, your full screen. You can begin when you want.
Am I good? Okay. I'm Lindsay Williams. I'm the founder and winemaker of the Urban Wine Co. We're not just your average winery. We're bringing a vibrant, inclusive wine experience to a city near you. Diversity is at the heart of everything we do. We are appealing to a diverse customer base, as well as playing in a space where less than 1% of winemakers are African American. I started this journey. I was a corporate attorney who drank a lot of wine and loved to visit wineries. And I just found loving that experience and wanting to bring it back to the Carolinas, where I live in the States. I very quickly discovered that there were a lot of barriers to getting into the wine business, and that owning a vineyard in the Southeast United States was pretty unattainable. So that's how I discovered the urban winery concept. I enrolled in a winemaking program, learned to make wine, and did an apprenticeship at California Winery. And that's how the Urban Wine Co. was born. So a little bit about our wine portfolio. Our wines are made from grapes that are sourced from vineyards around the world. These 4 wines are our core portfolio that we offer for retail and wholesale purposes. We've got low alcohol to reds to sparkling wines. We really have something for everybody. One of the things that really makes us unique, we're not just a wine brand who's importing wine from others and putting our label on it. We actually make the wines here at our production facility in the Carolinas. So we source our grapes globally, and this allows us to make a wider variety of wines. The climate in the Southeast is very, very humid and hot, which is not optimal for grape growing. So we're importing all of our grapes. They're flash frozen, temperature controlled, and then we are fermenting, racking, bottling, and labeling the wines right here in the Carolinas. All of our wines are made sustainably. They're gluten-free, and they're also good for the earth. And because we are making the wines, we're able to control what goes into them. So really low on additives and chemicals and sulfites and all the things that folks are not wanting in their wines these days. So our corks are also plant-based. So this allows us to control the oxygen permeation in our wines as they're aging, and it's also good for the earth. So we've steadily increased our production. We started at a mere 200 cases, and now we're over 2,500 and counting. And one of the reasons we're here today is because we're really looking to expand our wine production. So far, growth, since we opened in August of 2019, we've sold over 86,000 bottles of wine. We're really proud of that number, for a total of 1.8 million in sales. And so the majority of those sales have been direct to consumer. And so we're really looking with this raise to pivot our business to also be selling for wholesale and retail customers. We've recently been awarded a 44-store deal with Target retail stores. And so that's really going to transform our business and is going to enable us to not only get into the retail space, but also attract other retail players and to be able to continue to grow that side of the business. Press and awards, we've been lucky to have local, regional, and national press from all sorts of magazines and press outlets. We've also been featured at a number of national food and wine events, Outstanding in the Field, Charlotte Wine and Food, and Charleston Wine and Co. We've also entered our wines in several competitions, and our wines have done really, really well in the award process. We've got a large following on social media. Our typical customer tends to be women aged 35 to 55, moderate income. We also have lots of Google views on our profile, and we've got a healthy email subscriber list that's got a really active average open rate. And then also we're able to convert those folks to sales. Leadership team, myself, I've got over 18 years of legal and finance experience. I've worked at places like JP Morgan and Wells Fargo. Also have a JD and a bachelor's from the Ohio State. Lysandra Gibbs, she's our chief marketing officer, but really serves as my right-hand business person as well. Not only is she a seasoned executive, she's an entrepreneur herself. She's got over 20 years of national marketing experience. She's got experience at places like Burt's Bees and the Brooklyn Brewery. She's got an MBA from UNC and a bachelor's from Wharton. I've included this slide with our pricing. And so, one of the important things to note here is our suggested retail price per bottle is around $16 to $22, depending on the type of wine varietal and the retailer. It costs us around $4 to $8 to make each bottle of wine, and that's all in packaging included. And so again, one of the benefits of us actually making the wine is that we're able to control the costs. And by getting additional investment, we'll be able to get those cost of goods down even further. So our ask for funding, we're currently raising $500,000 on the WeFunder platform. We're also accepting investments outside of that platform. Those funds will go towards expanding our facilities. We started with a small winemaking facility and have quickly outgrown that. So we're looking to acquire a new facility and complete some upgrades there. We're also looking to upgrade our existing winemaking equipment and technology. Website and systems. Now that we're expanding into the wholesale space, we're looking to build out a wholesale portion of our website. Also for hiring key sales and marketing employees. And so this is to round out the team and then also continue to build out our winemaking team as well. And then for inventory and supplies. And so one of the challenges being in the alcohol market and making your product is that we're constantly having to replenish that product as we sell it. So we are looking for some funding for some additional inventory and supplies so that we can fulfill demand. So here's just where to find us. We're on social. We've got a website. And we're on WeFunder now, so you can find us there as well too.
Thanks, Lindsay. Firstly, we're going to go straight to Michael, please.
Yeah, sorry, Lindsay. I've got screens everywhere at the moment, the wee presentations. Yeah, there you are. Great. Back on my main one. Thanks for that. That's really interesting. I like my focus on any consumer packaged goods would be, product positioning in the marketplace. And I'll come on to that. And then there's obviously the commercials, so the pricing structure. And then obviously, where to from this round? What's your vision for the future? Where can you take this brand? Is it going to be famous as a vineyard or as a packaged good brand, or is there other product types coming in? So let me just break that down. So just in terms of positioning in the market, so what I've learned in the last few days is that Carolinas is the 10th ranked wine region in the United States, right? And is that for you? Is that a strong product positioning as a vineyard owner winemaker, or is that potentially a negative trying to break through some of the bigger regions?
No, and I think one of the things that's unique about the Carolinas is that, you know, folks in the South tend to support products and vineyards in the South. So when you look at, you know, the Carolinas as a whole, there's not a lot of wineries here. So we've got a lot of wineries in the Northern Carolina section, but I'm in the Southern Carolinas. And so, you know, people really are looking for products from the South that they can support. So one of our goals and one of our strategies is we're really starting to grow our Southeast business first. Even though we have had some traction in 26 other states, we really feel like growing in the Southeast makes the most sense. That's where we've got a lot of brand recognition and people know us and people have been asking for this. So this is something that, you know, we started out just selling here, and then, you know, Target came along, and then all these other folks are starting to ask for our product to be in other areas in the South. And so we'll stick to that Southeast, which is kind of what we know, where we know we'll get traction before expanding even further than that.
I'm actually delighted to hear that, because so many food and beverage brands try to spread themselves too thin around even a small country like Ireland. They go, you know, all four corners, but you've got to own your neighborhood. And in fact, fellow American Brian Rosen from Investbective, Bev would support that. So that's great to hear. Just a couple of clarifying questions. So freight on board per case, is it a case of 6 or 12?
12.
It's okay, it's 12, so 103. And then, so where does your price positioning put you? You know, you said $16 to $20 a case. Where would that put you in the marketplace in terms of?
Yeah, that puts us in the mid-range. So, you know, we're definitely not the cheapest wine on the shelves, and we're not trying to be, but we're not the highest priced as well. So we've really found, and this is over our 5 years of being in business and trying all sorts of different things. We've had high-end wines, and honestly, it took us a long time to sell those high-end wines off of our shelves. So we've determined that, you know, that mid-price range is really our sweet spot where we can make the most sales with our customer base.
Very good. Okay. And then just on your sheet there, you had a 30% profit in your supply chain. So in your route to market, you had two markups of, is that markup or margin, the 30%?
That's markup. So I should have qualified that too. So in the South, in North Carolina and South Carolina, we have a mandatory law that you have to go through distributor, and the profits are also regulated. So those prices are for our North Carolina and South Carolina business that are mandatory distributor. And again, that doesn't reflect states that don't have that requirement.
And if I can observe, for me, it feels very low from your own point of view. It feels like you don't have enough oxygen in your P&L to be able to drive marketing, to be able to expand, to do product innovation. So what's your thoughts on that? Why so low as an entry point?
Yeah, and so I think for us, you know, we were predominantly direct to consumer, which the margins on direct to consumer are much higher. And we are still going to continue that business. So our sales numbers that are reflected in our deck are all direct to consumer. I mean, I think 98% or something like that. So for us, you know, in order to get into large retail, you know, there is a bit of price wrangling that happens there, and they have, you know, their set margins that they are hoping to achieve and what their pricing is for their shelves. That's always negotiable, but when you're dealing with somebody like Target, those are our target prices that are in that deck. You know, so that was kind of after a bit of negotiation and with their target customer in mind and for what folks are spending on wine at those large retail stores.
Yeah, brilliant. And then my only other observation, I have to say, this is a marketing guy. So you threw out a few kind of a few hooks, if you like, in terms of your USP. You've got your DEI angle, you've got sustainability, you know, you've got your provenance in terms of Carolina. What's the most important for this brand, for your brands?
For me, it's really bringing our wines to a diverse population. I think that's one thing that really differentiates us from everyone else. We want our wines to be approachable. We want everybody to feel like they can enjoy a wine from us. We want them not to be intimidated by wine, because that's something that I think sometimes people feel, especially the younger generation. So we really want this to be a diverse wine brand that appeals to everybody.
Great. And then that's brilliant. And I would stick with that. And maybe your packaging needs to reflect that. rather than look like every other wine,
Yeah.
in terms of all the structures of wine labeling. So my only other point was you mentioned, and this is a bit of tongue in cheek, but
put it in the chat if you can, Michael.
Our corks are plant-based. Aren't all corks plant-based?
That's true.
That was fun. On to Nadine, please. Thank you, Michael.
Yeah, it's just a quick one. So I mean, so you're raising 500K now. So how long do you think that will, like, how long will that last? What will it take you through? Because you seem to be, I mean, obviously if you get Target and maybe you get more than the 40 stores after, how far will that take you?
Yeah, I'm projecting that's going to take us out through 2 years. Up until now, we've been bootstrapped by myself, and we don't have any debt, so that's good. But we anticipate needing this funding to really give us some runway. And really, one of the struggles with having a product-based business is really just keeping that inventory up, and so that's going to be big for us. And then also expanding our facilities, because in order to expand our winemaking and get more inventory, we need more space and better facilities.
Okay. So it's 2 years. And then in terms of, and what are the terms? So I know you mentioned it's open. So in terms of the funding?
Yeah, I mean, and we're still open at this point. We've only been on WeFunder for a couple of weeks now, and we've been starting to talk to some other venture capital investors, but we're planning to give out a combination of equity and revenue share. We kind of felt like that was best based off our growth pattern and based off the fact that this is our first funding round.
Okay. I'm good. I'll let it go to somebody else.
So we're over to David now, please. Thanks, David.
Yeah, Michael covered a lot of ground. So first, I'd like to applaud you on what I think was a really crisp deck and presentation.
Thank
you. And I think Michael covered sort of where you want to go vision-wise. I know that was one of the questions I had too. In your deck, you didn't necessarily sort of in real like this is where we're going to be in 2 or 3 or 5 years. Michael's covered some of that. If there's something else you want to talk about, I'd open that. And then the distribution strategy, right? So I do think the way you're sourcing it and then making the wine where you are makes a lot of sense. I live very close to wine country. I've got lots of family that is up in Napa and whatnot, so I'm familiar with sort of different strategies. But sourcing and then actually getting your COGS down, I think is a great strategy for a market that is hungry for something produced in the Southeast. I love that part of the story. I am a little bit interested, I guess, in FMCG environment where you've got more and more working capital tied up in inventory, fast turns. I'm very curious, like how are you going to target keeping your turns and your inventory in check, and not too much money tied up in working capital?
Yeah, I mean, this is our first foray into building out a large inventory base, because we've kind of just been making wine as we go, and that has been sufficient to supply our direct-to-consumer base. And so this is really our first time, going into the retail space where we're going to need to have more inventory. One of the good things about Target is they pre-ordered, so we had a good 3 to 6 months to understand what their needs were. So that's something we could plan for. And there's on the financing side, there's ways to manage that. But you're right, as we get into this business, and if somebody comes along and says, we would love to carry your wine in 30 days, like we're currently not capable of doing that. So that's why for us, we're really trying to, not only gain some investment, but also, I love events like this because, there are folks on the call who have done this before. And so get some strategies around, what do we do for inventory? How do we not buy too much inventory and have it sit? Also, it's wine, so we don't want it to sit for, forever, but, we do want to make sure that we're able to supply and demand. And that's part of why we're doing this equity raise.
Yeah. And you commented with Michael about wanting it to be a brand that speaks to a lot of people and very accessible. I guess I initially had some concern around how you're going to continue your high margin direct to market and Target, which is not necessarily viewed as a high-end brand, but does address the accessibility component that you want. And I guess that distribution strategy of how do you manage both when you still want to go direct to consumer and be accessible, and not to alienate your channel through Target.
Sure. And I saw through the chat, there was a question about, creating a separate brand. And so that's what we've been talking about internally, is that we're probably going to have to, at some point, break this out into 2 separate brands. So we don't have those issues with alienating our direct to consumer customer, but then also, being able to maintain pricing and cost of goods for the wholesale retail side.
And I think that's a great strategy. Then you have SKU management issues and working capital in a different area. But great presentation. Learned a lot. Thank you.
Thank you.
Lovely exchange. Now to Elena. Thanks, Elena. Thanks, David.
Thank you, Jamal. Thank you so much, Lindsay, for pitching tonight. I really enjoyed your pitch, and I see you worked so much on the graphic. For how long have you been pitching this version of your pitch?
This is my first time ever pitching.
Congrats.
Wow. Yeah.
Thank you.
Nice job.
Yeah, so I wanted to go 2 directions. Actually, I can't decide which one to start with. So I wanted to ask about the profitability side of your business. So I know that Michael covered a lot of ground on the profit margin, but I didn't really catch what is actually the wholesale profit margin on your product.
Yeah, so we have been profitable to date. So that's something that we're really proud of. And the profit margin varies kind of based off of how the wine is sold, but our direct to consumer profit margin, it's around 50%. And so that number goes down when you go to resale and wholesale, just because we may have to go through a distributor, which we also have to pay, and just kind of depending on the price point for the wine that is being sold retail and wholesale.
Mm-hmm. And by when do you plan to achieve break even? By when do you think your business will be profitable?
Yeah, so I think with this infusion of capital and ramping up the wholesale and retail business, I think it's that 2-year mark we anticipate, and that's what we pro formed out, that we'll break even and make some additional revenue at that 2-year mark.
Oh, that's awesome. And then on the other side, on the consumers, and how do you communicate your brand to your consumer? Do you plan to bring to market some like a small dose wine, or because I heard you saying that you have 12 bottle per case? Are you planning to go direct to consumer and to communicate a little bit differently, like to advocate the sustainability side, to educate your target market, or how is this going to be executed, this strategy?
Yeah, I mean, I think this is a pivotal moment for us because, we've been really lucky that we've achieved these numbers without really having to target our marketing. We've really just opened and put it out there, and really people in the Southeast have been waiting for something like this. And so we've been really lucky that, folks have shared us and we've had a big following. But I do think this is a moment where we're going to refine that message and talk a little bit more about the sustainability of our products, the low alcohol offering we have, and really just thinking through, how we market this to the broader market and then also our existing customers.
Yeah, I really think, and I advise you to narrow down your communication to a specific target group, because this is the content in your case is going to be revenue generating, that's for sure, in order to differentiate yourself from the other competitors.